The rain poured hard on the cracked pavement of Hillstone City as if the sky itself had something to mourn. At the corner of East Maple and 3rd, a young man named Ryan Carter stood under a flickering street lamp, his hoodie soaked, his hands trembling, but not from the cold. From everything he had just lost. Behind him, the small print shop that had been his dream, his savings, and his late father's legacy, now stood dark, windows shattered, signboard ripped off by the storm 2 days ago. The insurance claim had been denied. Ryan had exactly $42.17 to his name, no backup plan, and nowhere to go. "Why does life keep punching me when I'm already down?" he whispered. He didn't know someone was watching him. Earlier that week, Ryan had been full of hope. He had plans, flyers ready, a deal with the local high school for their graduation programs, and even his first bulk order from a startup. But life had other ideas. A storm, a break-in, and betrayal by a business partner had wiped everything away in 72 hours. By Friday morning, he sat on the same street corner, slumped, numb. People passed. No one noticed him. Until an old man with a white beard and a curious smile stopped and said, "Bad week?" Ryan laughed bitterly. "Bad year." The old man nodded. "You know, storms don't break you. How you stand after them, that's what defines you." Ryan looked up. "What?" "Son, your attitude is your compass. You pointed at failure, that's where you sail. You pointed at hope, you just might see the shore." Then he walked away, leaving behind a folded piece of paper with a single quote. "Your life is 10% what happens and 90% how you respond." Ryan shoved the quote in his pocket. It was probably just another cliché. But that night, something inside him stirred. Maybe it was the quiet. Maybe it was how tired he was of feeling powerless. Or maybe it was the memory of his dad saying, "Fall 7 times, stand up 8. He stood, not because everything was fixed, but because he couldn't stay down anymore. That was the first decision, the first crack of light. He reached out to an old college friend, borrowed a laptop, and started cold emailing potential clients. His fingers trembled as he typed, but his eyes didn't waver. He knew rejection would come. But so what? Courage isn't loud. Sometimes it's just whispering, "Try again," when everything says quit. One client responded. A bakery. A small job. But it was something. He walked 6 miles to deliver the design by hand because his bus card had expired. The bakery owner, Mrs. Keller, looked at him curiously. "You're the one who used to run that print shop, right?" He nodded. "Trying to rebuild." She looked at the flyer, then at him. "It's clean work. You've got an eye." She placed another order bigger, told her sister who ran a daycare. And so it began. Weeks passed. Ryan built a network slowly, painfully. He worked from libraries, coffee shops, even park benches with free Wi-Fi. He printed from a rented printer in someone's garage. But every job, no matter how small, he did with care. When clients asked why he delivered in person, he always smiled and said, "Because if I'm still standing, I'm still moving forward." People admired that, respected that. 3 months later, he had saved enough to rent a tiny workspace, a garage with peeling paint and a leaky roof. He named it Phoenix Prints. Not because it sounded cool, but because he knew what it meant to rise from ashes. He framed the old man's quote and hung it on the wall. "Your attitude is not your reaction, it's your declaration." One day, a woman walked into Phoenix Prints. She looked like she didn't belong there. High heels, sharp blazer, corporate badge. She introduced herself as Elena Shaw, regional marketing lead for a tech company. Said she was looking for gritty local stories to spotlight in their new community campaign. Ryan shrugged. "I'm just a guy who prints stuff." But when he told his story, Elena didn't blink. She just said, "That's not printing. That's perseverance." The campaign went viral. Orders poured in. Interviews followed. Clients across the state reached out. Phoenix Prints doubled, then tripled in size. Ryan hired 2 interns, then staff, then opened a second location. But through it all, he kept the same battered quote on the wall. The same leaky roof was never fully fixed. On purpose. Because, in Ryan's words, "You don't forget where you came from if you keep one crack to remind you of the storm." 1 year later, Ryan stood on a TEDx stage telling his story. The lights blinded him. The applause felt surreal. He looked out at the sea of faces and said, "They say attitude can't change your circumstances. But I say it changes you. And when you change, the world doesn't stand a chance against you." People stood, cheered, and in the front row, Ryan spotted a familiar figure, the old man with the white beard, smiling. Ryan stepped down after the talk and asked, "Why did you give me that quote?" The old man replied, "Because I once needed it too. And someone gave it to me." Then he winked. "Now it's yours to pass on."